Welcome to Heart Healthy Living with Dr. Jackie, a Big Blend radio podcast that features Dr. Jacqueline Ubani, a board-certified cardiologist and electrophysiologist and author of the best-selling book, Women and Heart Disease, The Real Story. Welcome, everyone. It is Wellness Wednesday, and Dr. Jackie is back here in the house talking about stress today. Stress Awareness Month is, here. And it's National Garden Month, so I'm saying let's swap the stress for gardening, just thinking, or go for a walk in a garden. So very cool to have Dr. Jackie here to talk to us about the relationship of stress and heart health. Maybe not be a relationship we want for our heart. Sometimes we have to, end relationships. So I'm here today to interview her about how to, detach from stress and say, I no longer want you in my life unless it's a serious thing that I have to have some stress on for survival mode, right?
Right.
But that's the thing. There's flight or fight, and then there's the in-between, and stress. A lot of times stress is self-caused. Ooh, did I say that, Dr. Jackie? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I wonder about this with stress. Anxiety. So a lot of people talk about having anxiety and it's, it's a real thing, for those who suffer anxiety, it can ramp up into stress. And I wonder how that whole thing ends up affecting our heart.
Yeah, well, stress can definitely cause you to cause your blood pressure to increase. With high blood pressure, you're at risk for things like heart attacks, strokes, renal failure, going blind. So not only does it increase your blood pressure, it can also, cause an increase in, corticosteroids or, the stress hormones, which also have the same kind of effect on the heart, like increasing your risk for, heart attacks and strokes.
I was going to say, so this is like, if you get stressed out once, that may be okay, but is this like if you're stressed out consistently?
Yeah, so chronic long-term stress can have biological effects that increase your risk for stroke, for sure.
Because I know I've done a lot of interviews on stress over the years, and I remember one author came on and he was a CEO of a company that was doing really well, and he got himself into a point of absolutely losing it. He actually got on top of the table at a board meeting. You got all your stockholders and everybody sitting there, like your big ones on the board. He got up there, I think he took his clothes off and just went crazy. Yeah. And it was all stress. He had gotten to a point where he wasn't, actually a human at that point. And he really had to do a backpedal, and he was like, I think his book was Stress Pandemic, because he was looking at it as this is an actual disease we have with this need to almost control everything, do everything, there's financial stress, right, that people go through, which can take a toll. And then people, to relieve stress, do things that it's not good for us. So we want to get into that today too. But we're going to talk about fun. We're going to, break up with stress, say you're no longer allowed in the life, but fun is, but that doesn't mean we're not effective in our careers and in our family and in our life, because sometimes stress is like that evil thing sitting on your shoulder that you need to get out of your life. But he talked about that. He's like, our country has overtaxed themselves in a way for things that maybe don't matter as much. I mean, does a company mean more than your family?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you're saying. Yeah, so stress definitely can lend itself to worsening medical condition, because of course, like you said, the more stressed you are, the more likely you are to live a not so healthy lifestyle. You're more likely to pick less healthy foods to eat. You're less likely to exercise and less likely to take your medications or follow up with your doctor. So it just all kind of spirals together.
It's true. When you've had a really crazy day at work, you come home what's going in the oven? Pizza, or are you gonna do like a baked
Something
breast of chicken?
That's right. Something quick and mindless eating. When you're stressed and you're thinking about other things, you're just stuffing your face because you feel like you're hungry and not paying attention to your body signs that you should stop eating. Yeah. So overall, stress is just bad for your health.
So it leads you astray.
It
It's
leads
like
to stress.
it's like that dude your mom didn't want you to date in high school. She said no, but it was fun, and then you get yourself in trouble, right? Your mom
That's right.
knew.
That's right.
I didn't go through that at all. I'm just kidding. But I did. But this is the thing. Stress, it leads us to sometimes drinking more than we should, right?
Yes.
And we
Yeah.
use that as an excuse. Oh, it's been a really rough day. Well, isn't
Right.
drinking more of a celebratory kind of thing too? Like give it's like, we interview winemakers. We have friends who are winemakers, and the last thing they want you to do is drink their wine for stress. They want you to actually enjoy the wine.
Right,
Thank you.
right, exactly. So when you're
Hmm.
celebrating, I would think if you're not stressed out, you're less likely to overdo the drinking. The people who tend to overdo the drinking, um, drinking more than is
Hmm.
recommended, are people who are most likely stressed out.
So stress can lead to more alcohol, worse foods. Okay, so what
Poor sleeping
happens?
habits, not taking your
Yeah.
medications, just the whole gamut of stuff that ultimately leads to bad health.
And then it's like you end up on the couch for a whole day, you know. And sometimes that you need that. Sometimes your body needs to just chill and watch movies, and
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that
Yeah.
personally, unless you tell me. Like if you tell me that, I'm like, all right, dude, I won't do it. But if sometimes we all go through stressful moments. It could be a personal issue, it could be a work issue, it could be all kinds of things. Right now, I think our country is stressed out. People are arguing over politics and getting themselves so worked up, and I get it. But what
Yeah.
about that? I mean, do you think, I mean, sometimes you turn on the radio as we travel, we always try to find a local channel, local station. It's hard to find
Mhm.
all that. And you could end up on a talk radio thing, and it could be either way, but it's political just as you start to hear people's voices, how they are carrying on about what's the news of the day. It's so hyper.
Right.
Like I already see like their
Very soon.
faces are hot, and like people's faces like blow up when they're angry. Like they're puffy faced.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with
What's
you.
going on with the puffy? Is that our blood vessels moving? And is that, I mean, why do we puff up? What is that?
I mean, it's just a facial expression of anger or frustration that comes about. Yeah,
Well, you can see people's veins
you
move.
can. You can
That's
sometimes.
freaky, man.
So, I mean, that should be a clue to you. If this is happening to you, you should, understand that you're getting to a level of stress and frustration that, you need to calm down a little bit from that.
Mm. I think everyone's been through those levels, and you
Yeah.
can feel when you've gone to a place where you don't even know who you are. Like if you're going to be in that level of like your body it's almost like an adrenaline thing. I'd rather
Yeah.
to be on a meditation trip. So I'm tripping out somewhere. I'm
Oh,
like in another planet or something. It would be more fun. But
yes.
yeah, because meditation is great. You can go all over, like certain meditations, right?
Yeah, I think meditation is a wonderful way to relieve stress, along with, of course, maybe turning the TV off or the radio off or just staying away from the news because it's just turbulent times, very frustrating and stressful times. But additional things like meditation, are definitely a good idea and actually has some scientific backing that meditation can reduce your risk for heart disease by some similar biological effects of calming everything down.
Okay, so I know your book, right? Women and Heart Disease, The Real Story, a best-selling book. Everyone go to womenandheartdiseasebook.com. You really talk about lifestyle changes, and that heart disease is the number one killer of women in the United States and men too, right? This kills more women than breast and lung cancer combined. And we've been chatting for years, and that stat like needs to go away. Like, but the only way to go away, to make it go away, is to make these changes.
Yes.
So for
Edu-
women, what I worry about is women tend to, I know they talk with, their girlfriends and things like that, but we tend to swallow things too and not release the stress. You know what I mean? So can that be like a silent killer of not dealing with the stress? Like can that eventually explode well, that's why sometimes divorce happens like overnight and the guy has no idea what happened. She's given you hints and you didn't listen. And then one day your clothes are out and the locks are changed. But there was, she's quiet. So I've seen that with people and men too. But for women, sometimes they just bear it and bear it and bear it. And there's a breaking point, isn't there? Does that affect health?
Yeah, if you're under a tremendous amount of stress, yes, you can reach a breaking point where, you know, you do something that's just out of control. But in terms of cardiac disease, yes, if you're exposed to chronic amounts of stress, like we're talking about, they will then lead to hormonal changes that, affect your heart and your heart function and exposes you to risk of heart disease. So yeah, so it's a good idea to figure out ways to relieve stress, especially if you
Mm.
have a history of heart disease, so that because that will ultimately lead to a healthier lifestyle.
Mm. So let's take the negative and turn it into fun. This is what we love to do. Okay, so we've already said, okay, food. All right. So the pizza's good, but there's pizza you can make that's actually heart healthy with flatbread and vegetables and maybe low fat mozzarella cheese. Is that allowed? Or feta? That kind
And,
of thing? Is this
and
okay?
I'm picking, less refined carbs. So instead of the white powdered flour,
Mm-hmm.
some wheat flour or something like that for the crust instead of white. So just trying to be healthier in your choices when
Mm.
you're in your ingredients. And of course,
Okay.
in moderation, you don't want to do anything. So moderate doses are okay. It's when you start overdoing the doses is when you.
I think learning new recipes is fun. That's personally, I think it's fun. Finding a new ingredient and then going, all right, I've never done anything like that, knowing that it could go crazy,
Yeah,
that you
experiment.
could burn it or whatever. You need to go in with that attitude instead of stress. Like, don't do it if you're having a dinner party and go, oh, I've never cooked this before because you're causing the stress. That's what I was talking about at the beginning. We already set ourselves up to stress a lot of times. So sometimes we just go, hey, let's learn a new dish, see if we like it or not before you do it for the dinner party. you
Right.
know?
No, I
Yeah.
think experimenting with, cooking healthier dishes is always a good idea because you get to learn a lot about healthy cooking and you might actually find things that you really like. Because one of the problems with, you know, trying to pick healthier choices is people say, "Oh, what can you eat?" All the things that are healthy don't taste good. But actually, that's not
Mm-hmm.
true. There are many ways you can season healthy options to make it delicious. So experimenting with cooking healthier options and the different kinds of seasonings will help with
Mm-hmm.
your health overall.
This is a good example. I have some friends and we have all these snacks. Thank you, Melissa's Produce, right? Specialty produce. They send us all these things to try. And they work with hatch chili peppers. And they have all these spicy things. And a couple friends who love spicy food. And they made a trail mix and it's got a little spice to it. And so we were trying the trail mix together and they're loving the flavors, right? And it doesn't have, these are all clean, healthy snacks. I didn't tell them it's healthy. They call them clean snacks and I didn't tell them it's healthy.
Uh-huh.
And they started eating it and they're like, oh my gosh, these are real ingredients. Like it was like cashews and almonds, dried banana, I think, and a couple peanuts, but they were like, you can have like real snacks that taste good. You know what I
Right.
mean? They were like so amazed that they were healthy. And you know what? Because they were like nuts like that,
Hmm.
um, nobody ate a whole bunch because they're filling.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what
Exactly.
I mean? Everybody had a handful, and that was kind of not how many handfuls of cashews can you have, you know?
Not many, but yeah, no, I like that. I like when people who are trying healthier uh
Hmm.
and healthier eating options discover things that they really like and they want to talk about it. And they
Oh, yeah. I put beets in salads now.
yes, beets are really good in salads.
Yeah, now we have to be careful because I was going to do pickled things and then I think that's a no-no.
No,
Um,
salt probably in pickled things.
oh,
Bad for
okay.
high blood pressure. So yeah, you want
Okay.
salt.
Watch on salt. But there's so many things you can do. You can add
Don't
celery, natural celery, and it'll give you salt. And when you start learning that and your body starts to change, you start to have fun. That's how I feel like. So, Dr. Jackie, I think you're going to like this. Um, so winter, remember I told you it was naughty in winter, right? It was cold and somehow butter got into cooking.
uh-huh.
And now I've been walking dogs again, as we travel and we pet sit. People know that as we travel, we pet sit. And the last few sits are dogs, big dogs, and we're in the mountains. And so that means hills, big dogs, and you're going, and they will drag you if you don't go. And I want to tell you that we're doing hills, like one's almost 90 degrees. Even a car is like, I don't know, man. You didn't, don't just go that slow. I need some oomph to get up there, and I'm doing it. I am doing it and I can feel it. My body is feeling it, but it feels good. Like I can feel the progress of my body changing to being like the cardio, like I don't know how to explain, but your core body's like, dude, why haven't you been doing that? Are you really going to do this to me now? And then all of a sudden you push through that and you start feeling better and it's exciting.
Yeah,
And
no,
suddenly your body actually wants to eat healthier. I don't know how to explain that, but that's happening
I
on its
think
own.
that is phenomenon. You start eating healthy and you actually like the food and you get used to it and you don't even crave the unhealthy stuff or the unhealthy stuff makes you sick somehow. Um,
Yeah, it does. Like potato chips are so salty and
yeah,
greasy.
exactly. You start to notice those things. It's too salty and greasy. I can't imagine. I can't believe I used to just love eating this.
Yeah, everything's too sweet. Like it makes me kind of, I think it's cool. And then like a sugar rush or like it's too salty and all the dyes. Are the dyes bad for us? I know we're talking about stress, but I think the dyes have to do something to our chemicals and our body. All the dyes and all the preservatives.
Hmm.
I mean, does that change our molecular makeup in our bodies eventually at some point? I've got to think they do. I mean, it can't be that great for us to have too many chemicals. When you eat like something that's fresh, like a carrot that just came out of the ground, you can't, there's nothing like that, man. It's your
Right.
body responds to going, oh, this is real food.
Yeah, yeah, no, all the additives and preservatives and sugar, salt, and all that stuff that's added is definitely not good for you, not good for any
Mm,
systems, and they increase your risk of developing diseases.
mm. So, all right. So walking hills is good, huh? It changed my body. It's
Yeah,
getting better.
physical is always good for your heart. Always good for your heart. The adrenaline that comes along with exercising, yeah, building your muscles. Your heart is a muscle. So building your muscle, building your heart muscle,
Oh,
being just healthy all over.
okay. I always looked at the heart as an organ, not a muscle.
Well, it has a lot of muscle in it. So yeah, it's a big muscle.
That's a good way of looking at when you look at cardio and stuff. Well, walking. So, walking, I'm going to say dogs, cats, animals. You pet an animal when you're feeling stressed out and you really focus on the animal, not so much on yourself. Sometimes I think stress is detaching from yourself for a bit and doing something else. If you're petting a dog, the dog's happy and there's some kind of hormone thing that makes you happy. It does. That's why dogs go to hospitals and, people entertain in hospitals. Music can change your stress level
Yeah.
hugely.
Yeah.
Massive. You talked before I went on the show, you said dancing, Dr. Jackie.
Yeah, dancing is a fun way to relieve your stress and have fun while you're doing it. I love dancing.
Me too. And
So
dance like no one's watching.
that's
Yeah.
great. And it's exercise and it's fun. So yeah, so I think that that's a great way to relieve your stress, get your cardio in and hang out with friends.
You know what? When I was younger and I started working for Nancy in South Africa, I'd wake up, I had this like whole like huge area where I lived and um I would turn my stereo up really early in the morning, really loud, and I'd dance around for like 5, 10 minutes, like really loud, like listening to like my favorite music and dance around like I don't know what I thought I was doing, but I was in a good mood, man. I felt all like, let's go. you know, I,
Right.
I don't know that I wonder about that. I think it can take your stress away. Can movement change does it change your hormones by exercising? Because like if you take a walk and you're angry, it kind of, you feel better afterwards. Like if you exercise and something's bugging you, I don't know. I don't know if you're sweating out the stress. What is our body relieving us of different hormones or because,
Yeah, I think exercise does decrease your stress levels. It brings down the bad hormones, the cortisol, the steroids that your body releases when you're under a lot of stress. It helps regulate that better. So, yeah,
hmm.
but it does help. It does help. It does have biological effects that are good for your body.
Now, since it's garden month, can we talk about gardening being something that relieves stress? Because you're also co-creating in a way where, you're carrying up. I feel like sometimes, like I said, like we create our own stress sometimes, I'm not talking about every situation, y'all, um, so if you're stressed out, sometimes just doing something nice gives back tenfold, right? Don't
Yeah,
you love giving someone a gift? And it's sometimes harder to receive a gift, but it's easier to give, right? And we like to
yeah.
give.
It's
So
better to give, actually.
gardening to me is like that. If you make a nice, area like a pollinator garden for hummingbirds to come to, and then you watch the hummingbirds come, to me, that's stress relief.
Yeah, I would agree. And also, it is physical activity. 'Cause
Hmm.
you do increase your heart rate a little bit when you're doing gardening, when you're out there gardening. So it's also a way to do physical activity, a way to relieve your stress. Yeah, and a way to just decompress from your stressful life.
Well, I just interviewed a lady, Michelle Fedosoff. She is a travel writer and author and all kinds of things. And she was just on a garden podcast we did, a garden party. And she talked about during COVID, her husband was going through cancer. And, that's stressful, as it was. You remember how the hospital, well, Dr. Jackie, how the hospitals were and all of that with
Yeah.
COVID. And she, at this point, just, she created a bee garden in her backyard. She didn't
Uh-huh.
even know she was going to do that, but she just, she was so, how do I handle all of this? And so she started pulling weeds and that made her feel better. And then she started hearing about the need for bees to have places to pollinate, and the need for bees for food and for not to eat, but for as pollinators and how we can help them. And so she started growing a bee garden, and
Oh,
she has an area. And the next thing you know, she said she would go out there with her book and hang. This became her spot. And during this whole thing, this garden, like she started getting things delivered. I mean, even during COVID, she was helping, garden places stay in business, she said. she started doing them by seed. And so she was tending something and it brought her joy that she, obviously dealing with a loved one with cancer. And I think it was his second time with cancer and dealing with COVID is stress. That was stressful for everybody, but people did find gardening as a thing to do that productivity helped. Yet at the same time, we drive ourselves insane with productivity. But that's
Right.
what I mean. It was like doing something that was helping and she could enjoy. And I think that's the same as volunteering. It's like instead of stress, go do something that you're helping. I think that joy can override stress.
Right. Yeah, no, I would agree.
Yeah,
I
it's
would-
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you garden, Dr. Jackie?
I don't garden. That's not what I do for fun. No, so no. I much rather meditate. Um,
Yeah.
rather go for a walk
Yeah, you like your beach.
in my beach, in the neighborhood. So no, gardening actually, yeah, no, I don't typically garden.
I'm stressing Dr. Jackie out right now. She's like, no, not the green thumb there. Not giving you the green thumb. No, no. But you
Yeah,
like flowers though, right? Flowers are,
yeah, yeah. No, it is. It's a way to de-stress for some people who really, enjoy.
mm-hmm,
A friend who loves to garden, and she would
mm.
spend all day Saturday in her garden. She couldn't wait for the weekends when she wasn't working because she found so much comfort, so much
Oh,
joy, so much peace when she was in her garden. So not everything, is a stress relief for everybody, or
right.
everything is fun for everyone. So you just have to find what you like and what you consider fun, what helps de-stress you, and then you can do that.
Music, number one, music and nature, man.
Nature.
Playing, that's a thing. I think hobbies, I think we've also lost hobbies sometimes. The stress level comes when we're not doing any fun. And,
Right.
financial stuff can really drive people nuts and you have to kind of deal with it. You know what I mean? I think if we don't deal with something, that creates more stress because you have to deal with it and the protagonism is bad
Exactly.
for us. And even if whatever you have to do to deal with it, it helps. But there's so many things we can do that don't cost a dime to do.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than eggs. And
Right.
Dr. Jackie says you don't have to have that many eggs anyway. If you have heart disease,
Yes.
2 eggs a day,
Like, and
you've got a good reason to not have 2 eggs a day anymore.
yes. Limit your yolk because that's where all the cholesterol is.
Oh, see, we have to have whites.
Yeah.
I'd rather have 1 egg a week. Is that okay? Like a full egg once a week?
Yeah. As long as it's moderate amounts and you're not overdoing it. But if you do have high cholesterol and you've been told that you need to bring your cholesterol down, then
Mm.
avoid egg yolks as much as possible. Yeah.
Well, I want to tell people we're going to link in the episode notes to a past episode where we talked about having fun with friends and how that can help you towards good heart health. And you can do it together as a journey. And I think that's the other thing is being around friends. I was telling you about our friends, we recently got to see our friends and good friends, and we just for an evening sat and giggled, and they're going through a lot of stress. It's where we are right now. People are recovering through a hurricane. So we're talking real stress.
Yeah.
But the one thing we can do as friends, no matter how bad it is make people laugh if you can in some way. I think
Right.
humor helps, and when I know you work in hospitals and things, that kind of helps when there's people going in and helping patients, right, through humor or like a singing card or, that kind of thing, right? Have you seen
Yes.
that? Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I've seen that. No, it's helpful. Absolutely.
Mm, cool. So, Dr. Jackie, your word of the month, is you tell me if I'm saying this right. Pericarditis?
Yes, you got it right.
I
So,
don't like this word. Is this a good word or a bad word? I just don't like it. It sounds like a dental thing that I'm going to have to go to the dentist and they're going to get a drill out to me.
no, but it can be painful though.
Oh.
No, not a drill, but yeah. So what it is,
Uh,
an inflammation of the lining around your heart that can cause chest pain, and it causes a typical kind of chest pain that's worse when you take a deep breath or when you lay down. And
mm.
inflammation can be caused by either viral infection, just anything that can cause an inflammation. So yes, the pericarditis.
So that could happen like, so it's kind of like almost like asthmatic for people that are asthmatic because they eventually, I've had touches of asthma in my life, but not like full. Well, yeah. And it eventually hurts. Your body hurts because of the breathing issue, but that's a little different, huh? So this is like your
Yeah,
heart.
yeah,
I'm
this one
thinking
is
my lungs hurt. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
the heart,
hmm.
yeah. Lining, but you can actually have the lining around your lungs get inflamed, and you get what we call pleurisy as opposed to pericarditis. Pericarditis is the lining around your heart. So yeah, so anything that can cause inflammation, like an infection, um, or if you have some kind of illness like rheumatoid arthritis and rheumatologic illnesses where your autoimmune system is revved up for whatever reason, you can have an inflammation of the lining around your heart that leads to pericarditis.
Okay. And what happens when you get pericarditis?
It's
Like
usually
what?
treated with anti-inflammatories like Motrin, Aleve. So when you see your doctor, you get placed on round-the-clock anti-inflammatories for
Mm,
3 weeks, and that helps with the inflammation.
okay. So this is not like necessarily heart disease. This can be like you got any kind of illness that can do
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Now, so eat a lot of turmeric and ginger and drink a lot of pineapple juice. I know that, that helps
Say
with
well.
inflammation. Yeah. But, yeah, just yeah, try not to get sick. But, I wanted to ask Perry, the word Perry, that's like, it's,
Around
oh, that's what it means? Around. Okay.
cardium, so
Okay.
it's heart, yeah.
Okay. The word. I just like to know what the words mean because I thought it meant we were getting old. Um, well, I am, it happens. Seriously, over the hill, but I'm walking hills now. It feels so good when you make a change.
It
I'm
does.
just saying.
It does.
And Nancy hears me huffing and puffing, come in with a dog, and she's like, man, but then I'm like, the huffing and puffing is not as bad. And then it's not as bad, but you feel like energized, but your body, is it hormones replay? Is it the hormones coming in that's making me feel better? Like different hormones?
So you build up a different set of hormones with physical activity that feels good. It's good for the brain, it's good for the heart, it's good for all of your organ systems, and it just makes you feel good overall.
All right. Well, I'm going for a longer walk tomorrow. I got it. Well, it was a beautiful, I would say we've had some beautiful spring days with everything in bloom in the neighborhood. And
Yeah,
it's like the birds are out, they're singing and everyone's happy. And you're like, you stop at one point, and you just go, you got to take it in. And I
right.
think that's the other thing. Just sometimes take it in. We keep going and it's like I watch people walking dogs with their phone on the whole time or talking to someone. I'm like, dudes, you're missing the whole beauty of this. Like there's things to look at. Your dog is sniffing something and you don't even know what it is. It could be a snake. No, let's let's not cause any stress. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
love this conversation. There's just all these different things we can do. It's like, okay, this is stressing me out. What can you replace it with? And if your job is really stressing you out to a crazy point, then maybe you don't do it. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that either, but changes can be made in life. So Dr. Jackie, thank you so much. Can't wait for next month. It's May, the month of May. So looking forward to that.
likewise,
Thank you,
likewise.
everyone. Women and heartdiseasebook.com. Don't forget to go get it. You know what? Next month is, Mother's Day's coming up. I say all moms should have this and all daughters and everyone should have it so that everyone knows how their women in their life should be, healthy and happy. So take care, everybody. Thanks so much.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us on Big Blend Radio's Heart Healthy Living Show with Dr. Jackie. New episodes air every second Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can keep up with Dr. Jackie at womenandheartdiseasebook.com. Listen to the shows at bigblendradio.com.